Hello and welcome to LionWing Talks, a show where we discuss all things LionWing, tabletop games, Japanese games, and localization. I'm Brad the Hailstorm, founder and president of LionWing. This is episode 31 for October 20th, 2021. Second week back after a long hiatus. I'm glad to be back, though I am not feeling super great today, which is unfortunate. I got a vaccine booster, and I'm getting the same symptoms that I got with my second dose of the vaccine. So I've got a fever, chills, and some pretty gnarly body aches. The body aches are what are just absolutely destroying me right now. So I got it yesterday afternoon, and I was good all day. When I got my second dose of the vaccine, the side effects hit me like 6 hours after I got it. So I'm like, all right, I've heard you basically react to the booster the same way you did the second dose. So I'm like, all right, if I get it at like 4 o'clock, or no, it was 5 o'clock, then by 11, I'll be getting ready to go to bed. I'll sleep through the symptoms. I'll wake up. I'll feel good. I had no symptoms all night. I woke up. I felt fine. My morning went fine. And then around like 12:30, I was like, oh, shit. That's back pain. Oh, that's all. And then just like over the course of the next hour and a half, it was like, oh, my back hurts. Oh, my shoulders hurt. Oh, my neck hurts. Oh, my arms hurt. My legs hurt. My hands hurt. My fingers hurt. And it just hasn't let up. It's been that way since, about noon or 1, something like that. So I don't feel super great, but here I am. I'm not going to miss the second week back. I felt like that would be poor form if I canceled tonight after only being back 1 week from the long month-and-a-half hiatus. So tonight we've got some updates to share. It's going to be a short show primarily because I don't feel great. And I'm just going to jump right into it. So if this is your first time joining us, thanks for checking out the show. If this is your 31st time joining us, thanks for coming back. If this is somewhere in between for you, also thanks for coming back. We have a format here on the show where we go through our project updates, and then we head into our Q&A, and then we close out the show. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We don't really have a Q&A tonight. I think this is I got a question, I believe. Let's see here. Yes, I got a question, I think. Yeah. So this is going to be a quick episode tonight, but an important one. So let's talk about updates. Wild Hunt Festival, I have none. We're waiting on DLC 2. I reached out to the editor again last week. Friday. I think it was Friday. And I have not heard back from him. I mentioned in last week's episode that he is going through some stuff right now, a move and whatnot, and some things associated with that move that have pretty much sapped him of his time. So I haven't really had a whole lot of contact with him for the past 2 months. So, which would have been fine because he had finished up Maid Knight Saga and everything that we were doing, to kind of flesh out that game to get it fully prepared for Kickstarter. He finished that up, got that all to me, which is great. And then I sent him the DLC 2 stuff, and that's when life hit him, and he's been kind of out of commission. So I guess if there's a time to not have access to your editor, it's right after he finishes a big project of yours. So I'm hoping that he gets back in the saddle, just like I did last week. But I did drop him that email. We'll see. When he reaches out, he always gets back to me, but it may take a little bit this time around. So thanks for hanging in there with us for DLC 2. We're a couple months overdue for DLC 2. So DLC 2's release window is starting to look like the original base game's release window, where it was delayed by however many months. We'll get it to you soon. I apologize for that. So that's Wild Hunt Festival. Oh, Beans is back. Yeah, Beans. So I mentioned in last week's show that I'm deciding what I'm going to put there. I haven't quite decided on it. I didn't put the Record of Lodos War poster back because it is now over on that wall. So I'm deciding what I'm going to put there. I have narrowed it down to 2 ideas. I'm either going to put a new Satoshi Urushihara print there from Growlancer 3 because it's beautiful and I think it'd look quite nice right there. Or I'm going to do smaller, more kind of like thin and tall frames of multiple things. So I've got I've got an A1 size, no, A2 size poster of Shadowrun for the Mega Drive or the Sega CD that never came out here. So it's this super rad poster that my wife bought me a couple years back. They don't show up on eBay very much, but when they do, they're like crazy expensive. And she surprised me with it for Christmas one year. So I've been like dying to hang that thing up. The problem is A2 size is a pretty obscure size, and if I want to do multiple things here, I've got to find other matching A2 prints, which I found some. I found a Biohazard 3, a Resident Evil 3, Last Escape print, which is super cool. It's A2 size, but then I need a third one, and I'm struggling to find that third one. So I don't know what I'm going to do back there, but hang in there. It'll be filling up sometime soon. Oh, Locksmith is in the room. What's up, Loxy? Lox, graphic designer on Testament. If you get like a display, you can add a tier to future Kickstarts to change it up. Yeah, I did think about that. I actually, because, in my last teasing wall, yeah. In the last setup, you'd always see like my all of the LionWing games over here, right? Which is cool because then I got to represent us. Now I don't have that because my desk is essentially flipped around with how my basement is set up. So yeah, not a bad idea to use that wall to represent some LionWing stuff, to maybe tease some LionWing stuff. Though it would be hard to tease something if I just brought out the poster of the game. So I'd have to get strategic about my teasing, but still be able to use some kind of poster to do the teasing. So I might have to think about that. I like that idea, folks. I like that. So I said I was choosing between two ideas, and now you all have entered a third, and I kind of like the third, though it's gonna kill me to not put up that Growlancer 3 art. Oh my gosh, like an object you hang up on the wall. So this reminds me of Phil Spencer. So whenever Phil Spencer does some kind of like interview or some kind of video, he's got a shelf of stuff, and if you look close enough, he tends to hide objects kind of in the back. I think the latest one is there was some sort of a Kojima Productions. Oh, is that the name of Kojima's studio now? I can't remember, but it's got something relating to Kojima, and there's that big rumor that Kojima and Microsoft are going to team up for something. So that could be cool. That could be cool. I like that idea though. Like, I don't know, if you're going to place stuff on the wall, you need you need a shelving unit, and I don't want to put a shelving unit there. Cause like this show's only like 1 hour a week. I've got to live with this space all the other hours in the week. There are 167 other hours in the week that I got to look at that thing. So I got to be strategic. I'll think about that. But you all have given me something to think about. Like a katana for a samurai game, or futuristic gun for gun and gun. Yeah, no, it'd be cool. And I'd have to figure it out. It'd probably work better to hide something like that, or to maybe not hide something, but to showcase something like that on the shelf behind me. That would I'd have to find the space to do that. I guess I could always just turn this back here into a LionWing shelf. I never really thought about that until now. 6 months out, change the poster with franchises that you love each start. With a different letter in the name, the campaign you're going to tease. Yeah, there are some cool things that you could probably do there, and y'all are giving me some ideas. Yeah. Cool. All right. That was a good sidebar. I love, so whenever we go live on Twitch, there's a bot that posts to the Discord saying like, hey, we're live on Twitch, come join us. And it grabs the link, and it just grabs like a random capture from the stream, and it always grabs like the ugliest captures of me, where I'm just making the worst face ever, and I have to look at that, and I'm like, oh, that's such a hideous look, Bradley. Anyway, yeah, so I like your guys' ideas. I think I'm actually going to do something like that. I'm gonna have to take some time to think on how I can arrange that. Okay, so we talked about Wild Hunt Festival. I think 2022, we might have some more Wild Hunt Festival news for folks. So sit tight there if you're like hankering for more Wild Hunt Festival stuff. You might not have to wait too much longer, to hear what's going on with the future Wild Hunt Festival. I mean, I've made no bones about the fact that I love that series and I want to promote that series, and I see it as an evergreen series for LionWing. So of course, I mean, you don't got to read the tea leaves too hard to realize that I want to do more with that series, and to do more with that series as a tabletop games company probably means more tabletop games based in that universe. So there that is. There's your Wild Hunt Festival news update. Let's get on to the main event of the show. Although, can it be the main event if it's not going on last? This is something that they debate in the pro wrestling world. Can you really have a main event that's like second from the top, or in this case, the second news bit out of multiple news bits? I don't know. Anyway, Gun and Gun. So I talked to, pull it up here. I talked to the printer earlier this week. I've got news to share that they are eyeing putting everything on the pallets and on the boat. Now, it doesn't mean the boat's going to leave them, but it's going to be on the boat next Thursday. That's October 28th. They seemed very confident in that date when they gave it to me. They have talked to me before about dates, and I could tell from their wording they were hopeful about that date, but they weren't committed to that date. Based on their wording earlier this week when we exchanged emails, they were very definite in their wording. So the 28th is looking like that's going to be the day, which is the news we've all been waiting for a long time. Now, how long it'll take for then that boat to leave port and to cross the ocean and then sit in the queue to get into port and then have to go through customs and then get to Funnigan's fulfillment centers at various points, various parts of the world, and then get out to people. I don't have a timeline on that yet, and I'm done giving timelines that I can't make good on any longer. In this business, when you're young in the business, you haven't had many opportunities to fall on your face and grow, essentially. And some growing moments for me have been those times when I've said we're going to deliver something on a certain date, and then we blow past that date, and we can't make good on that date. And that never feels good. So I'm learning, the more I do this, to not hard commit to anything. So I'm practicing that because I don't want to get people's hopes up, because that's essentially, that already happens with Kickstarter anyway. You give your estimated delivery window, and most people don't meet it. But still, as a backer, even if you've been a backer of many, 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 many things, you still see that date and you're like, okay, cool. You kind of put it in your mind that that's what's going to happen. Even though most of the time that date never is the date. So you can't get around that. There'll always be some sort of expectation, and then usually some kind of, even if it's low level, disappointment there when you miss that window. But there are other things that I can not commit to, so I stop getting people's hopes up. But this is something that the 28th seemed very definite, but I can't say beyond that what's going to happen. It could take 2 weeks for that boat to leave the harbor. It usually takes about 17 days in open water to get over to San Francisco. And then from there, who knows? Because we're going to be moving into November, and we've essentially hit the worst month of the year. Actually, November is the worst month of the year to have to have your stuff on a container ship and trying to get into a port and to try to make customs. And that's in a normal year. And then you add all this stuff on top of it. And obviously, November of 2021 this sounds like hyperbole, but I actually think it's true. It's probably the worst month in the history of the modern world for shipping something international through a container ship. It sounds like an exaggeration. It's not, unfortunately. So who knows? It could get to the queue off the coast, off the U.S. coast, the western coast, and it could get there at the end of November, and then it could sit there until January for all I know. That's not uncommon right now. I haven't been reading the chat. Sorry, folks. Let's see here. Oh my God. Wow. The printer actually responded. Yeah. And that's when I know they were pretty serious. So I think they too have learned to stop responding when they don't have anything concrete to give people, because I think they too have probably gotten up hopes and then had to dash those hopes. They're probably tired of that too. I think we're all tired of that. So to hear from them already says like, hey, something real is happening here. And then for them to nail down that date of the 28th, it's like, okay, cool. I feel pretty good about that. Bean says, Ayo, we've never been as close to gun and gun as we are today. It's true. It is true. And it's always true. That quote should be somewhere on the LionWing story lore. I think it is. I mean, I think it's been etched into the annals of LionWing history. We just need to make it like, we need to make it official in some way. I need to get like some stickers made or something to that effect. Let's see here. I have still yet to receive one of my Kickstarter stuff yet. Participated in 13 projects, still nothing in my hands, sadly. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. But you know, a lot of us are still backing stuff. I think we all at this point, in the early parts of the pandemic, backers were like, they didn't fully grasp what was happening behind the scenes. And I think they just assumed that everything was working as it did in a pre-COVID world. But now that we've been in this thing for almost 2 years, most backers are like, all right, yeah, like it'd be great to get it when you say I'm going to get it. But I'm going to tack 8 to 14 months onto that, to that delivery window. And that's probably when I'll maybe get it. So I'm not surprised to hear that. LionWing honestly ships quicker than most things I've backed. You know, I'm glad you feel that way, Lox. Some people would probably disagree with you. Some people might agree with you. We're trying. That's all I'll say is we're trying, man. I'm going to throw my energy toward manifesting shipping on the same day SMT5 drops. Well, I don't really want to have to do anything the day that SMT5 drops, because that's all I'm going to be doing. You know, there are so many video games coming out anymore. It's like ridiculous. It's not like the video game hobby is like almost not fun anymore because there's so many games and you don't have enough time to play them all. And so you really have to make hard choices in life. And I don't like making hard choices outside of a business setting. And so I really don't like having to choose which games I have to play, which games I don't have to play, which games I want to play, and which games I can probably wait for, I don't know, like 6 years. But I'm making time this fall for SMT5. I've come to the realization that despite historically JRPGs being my favorite video game genre, and I'll get to that question in our Q&A because someone did leave me a question about my favorite genre. Despite it being my favorite genre, I'm realizing at this point in my life, in my mid-30s, with 2 kids, running a business, and doing multiple other things, I have to accept the fact that I no longer, A, I'm the target demo for JRPGs, and B, have the time to actually like complete any JRPGs. And I'm tired of being this person who like never completes a game, because I feel like that's everyone in the world right now, because there are so many games, no one completes any of them anymore. And I don't want to do that anymore. However, I'm going to make an exception for SMT5 because it's Shin Megami, and I'm a mark for SMT, especially mainline SMT. Like Persona's great. I love Persona. But mainline SMT, get out of here. I want that. I want that every day, twice on Sunday. So SMT5, chef's kiss. My power is low this time of the year, but we'll see. Okay. So Beans is talking about how in the past he was able to conjure up some worldly energy to get customs to clear Wild Hunt Festival faster than they would have if he had not put his energy out into the universe. So that's what he's talking about there. Noelle in the house. I went in for Scarlet Nexus and it took me weeks to finish. Glad I did though. Yeah, so Scarlet Nexus is gnarly. It's one of those games that I started and then I stopped because, games. I mean, Namco's been on fire lately, right? But Scarlet Nexus is so good. I feel like it's like the sleeper hit of 2021. There's so much happening with that game's combat system that if you like wrote it all down, it'd be pretty overwhelming. But with how they dole out that information to you and how you build upon its system slowly, that combat engine is just so sleek. Oh my gosh, so good. And now it's on Game Pass, which is cool if you are a Game Pass subscriber. SMT5 hype. Yep, that's right. It very much is. I started Scarlet Nexus a few weeks ago. What was your final time? Yes. See, and that's why I was like, you know what? I got to bounce off this right now. I love what this game is doing. I love the characters. I love the art. I love the combat. But like, do I want to invest 40 hours in this game? If I've got 40 hours to invest in something, is this the game I want to invest in? And while I loved it, and I do think it's a sleeper hit, I was like, oh, I kind of want to put that energy and time elsewhere. I don't even know what I put it into. The JRPG talk reminds me how I've been trying to grind out Ryza so I can play Arise and then Scarlet Nexus. So, all right, I'm going to be this guy. Ryza, nah, not for me. I have tried so many times. I own Ryza on PS4 and Switch. I originally bought it on PS4. I got 4 hours into it, bounced off it, came back like a year later and was like, you know what? Maybe my problem is like, because I can't play JRPGs in the same way anymore because there's no way I'm sitting in front of a TV for however many hours it is to beat a JRPG. Hey, because I don't even get the TV any longer. Once you got kids, forget about it. You're never going to watch TV again in your life. All you're going to do is watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Paw Patrol all day. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need it on Switch. I'll be able to play on the couch. I'll be able to sit by my son. We're golden. And I got farther. I got like 6 hours into it, and I was like, yeah, no. The problem for me with Ryza wasn't the fact that I was playing it on a console and not on a handheld. It was the fact that I don't like Ryza. And that's unfortunate because the character designs of that game are killer. I did not care for the combat, though. And like every Atelier game, towns are like dead. They're like just like set pieces that are hollow without a lot of like lore behind them and not a lot of people to talk to. And sometimes the interface looks like I'm playing a mobile game. So there, I said it. I feel like there's two sets of fans you probably don't want to piss off in life. 3 actually. SMT/Persona fans, Falcom fans, specifically Trails fans, and then Atelier fans. And now I just pissed off all the Atelier fans because I think everyone likes Ryza except me. The series isn't for me. It's not just Ryza. It's every Atelier game. I just don't like them. I think they're so boring. See, I didn't think Ryza was very good. I thought the crafting in Ryza was like super simplified and like a little too accessible. And I was like, well, I'm just like pressing buttons. That's all I'm doing. This is not interesting to me. I didn't expect to go on a rant about Atelier Ryza tonight. I'm sorry, folks. If you like Ryza, good for you. Really, I'm clearly in the minority because that game's always sold out on Amazon. It can't stay in stock on Switch. I think Wario64 is always like, he posts something like, Rise Up on Switch on Amazon. It'll be in stock for like 13 seconds, and I think that's true. Now I haven't checked out Ryza 2. I haven't played Ryza 2. I followed some of its coverage and its lead up. It just kind of looked like more of the same, except I thought some of its characters the new characters seemed pretty cool. Anyway, back to Gun and Gun. So Gun and Gun, yeah. I feel excited about this because this has been a long time coming. Yeah, it's about time. I'm excited for people to play the actual game. I'm excited for people to see some of the changes we made without telling anyone. I'm excited for people to see some of the collector's cards that we threw in there. I'm excited for people just to hold the game and to see the cool Kickstarter extras. I think this is, we fucked up with the plastic character cards with Wild Hunt Festival. In our defense, I was shown a product that we didn't end up getting, but I digress. I'll just take that one. These, the extras for Gun and Gun are really good, though. I mean, it's part of why it took so long, right? Because I wanted to get it just right. But these feel so good. Like, the game feels so good. I probably overspent on it because in the end, like, once we were done, like, getting the game exactly the way I wanted, the cost was like not just higher. I mean, like way, 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 way higher than it originally anticipated. I'm not sure I'm actually going to like make much money with Gun and Gun. So I learned a lesson there. But it means those who backed Gun and Gun are going to get a really kick-ass product that has really quality components. And I'm excited for people to check that out. Gun and Gun was the game that gave me the keys to the LionWing world. Yeah, it's interesting. Gun and Gun and the people who backed it and are excited about it are way more active and vocal of an audience than any of our other games. Now, part of that's probably because the competitive card game market just brings in a different crowd, and those folks tend to be more vocal, good or bad. I'm just saying, like, they just tend to engage more. They tend to participate more, which is awesome. So while the game did not do the numbers that Wild Hunt Festival did with its Kickstarter, the level of player fan engagement is like considerably higher than all of our other games. So I can really tell that Gun and Gun has struck a chord with its audience. Now, it might be a smaller audience, but it's a very participatory and excited and enthused audience. So that's been cool. And I'm glad that it was the game that brought you into the fold, because, hey, we wouldn't have an around if we did not decide to localize Gun and Gun. So if nothing else, if I make no money on Gun and Gun, we at least got you and that's worth it in the end. Also, hope you received the files for the Theory Crafting Part 2. I did, yes. I'm going to put that on YouTube as we get closer to the game's going to fulfillment, because I kind of want to like build up hype. That's like the second round of hype that you do. So you always do a bunch of hype before / during a game's Kickstarter, but then you got to start the hype train back over once it's getting ready to get back into people's hands. Now, you typically don't hit a hardcore like ad campaign, though we are going to be doing that a little bit with Picaresque. But even if you don't hit a hardcore ad campaign, once the games are like in customs and it's happening, like the games are going to get to the fulfillment center soon, they're going to get shipped out to folks soon, you want to get people reinvested again. Because even if we had hit our timeline, from October to May, which was the original intended release window, a long time goes by between like when people were first excited about the game and when they get the game. And so most backers, they back something, the campaign ends, they stop thinking about the game again, unless like 6 months later, like, oh yeah, I wonder what happened in that game. Then they jump onto the campaign page, kind of read updates, whatever. Or they just never think about it again until it shows up on their doorstep, which is me. Once a campaign's done, boom. I never want to go to its campaign page again. I never want to read about it again. I don't read any updates that are sent to me. I don't care. At that point, I'm like, hey, I bought into this product and it'll get to me when it gets to me. And when it gets to me, it's going to be a surprise. I don't know. I don't want to know when it's coming. I just want to like, I want to walk out my front door and boom, weird, a package is on my front doorstep. Oh, it's to me. I wonder what this is. Oh shit, this is that Kickstarter project I backed 4 years ago, which recently happened with Quantum Suicide, which was a visual novel that I backed back in, I think, 2016, and just showed up on my doorstep a month and a half ago. So I love that stuff. I don't even care that I spent an obscene amount of money backing that game and it took 5 years to get to me. I just loved, like, I came home and I was like, what is this? Oh, it's Quantum Suicide. Cool. So I'm going to upload that Theory Crafting video of yours, probably in the next month or so. I received it and I haven't forgotten about it. So some other things. Firestrike and Operation Bulletstorm prizes. So I have, why didn't I bring them down here? I have the Operation Bulletstorm shirts. They didn't turn out exactly as I had anticipated. I reached out to the manufacturer who did the shirts to see if they would be willing to swap out the 6 shirts that I ordered for ones that are corrected. And they were kind of like, maybe, send us this, send us this, send us this. And I did all that, and then I haven't heard from them. And that was in the end of August, I think. So I might just have to order a new batch of shirts, which would really suck because it's like $175. I don't know what I'm going to do there. I have the stickers, which is good. I mean, those came out normal as expected. So Firestrike, I have decided that we're going to do Firestrike once the games ship to backers and backers get them in their hands. So we're going to be doing a virtual league, yes. But I can't think of a better way to celebrate the launch of Gun and Gun than by doing another virtual tournament. And it's not something you have to commit to like you do a league. It's not something you have to learn all the ins and outs of for a league. It's not something we have to learn all the ins and outs of right away. We've already done Bulletstorm. We know what to expect for Firestrike. We can just jump right into it. People sign up. Boom. They play a couple matches over the course of a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. We have a big culmination day or a big tournament day, and we're done. Everyone gets to have fun. So that's going to be the timeline on that. I know some people have been asking about what's going to happen with the Fire Strike, and that's what's going to happen with the Fire Strike. So, oh gosh, Af clipped something. I don't. Do I want to know what this is, Af? Do I want to open this on the air? Let's see here. I'm opening this right now. Let's see. Tori, an excited, enthused audience. Oh, my headphones just powered down. That's been cool, and I'm glad that it was the game that brought you into the fold. Because hey, we wouldn't have an around. Yes, I assume that's what you clipped. Well played. Let's see here. Bean says, "Hi, I wish I was that patient. I've got too many plushies on the way to not be obsessed over shipping." Yeah, I mean, I think I'm an oddity. I think most people follow along with a project to some degree. I don't think most people, especially when it takes 5 years to get to you, just like never think about the game again after the campaign ends. There have been games that I've forgotten that I backed, Quantum Suicide being one of them, but a couple others where like they've gotten to me 3 years later. I'm like, did I back this game? I gotta like go into my Kickstarter projects. I'm like, oh yeah, I did. Okay, 3 years ago. Cool. Pleasant surprise. I guess I know what I'm doing this weekend. Anyway, so that's Gun and Gun. I hope that is exciting for folks, or I hope it's as exciting as it is for me to be able to talk about. Oh, what else we got here? Picaresque Roman. So I will be getting all the digital files in their complete form tonight. That's right. Sometime in the next 2.5 hours, I will have everything. I will look over everything to make sure it all looks tidy. I'll package it up and then we'll send it out. I mentioned in last week's episode that I'm kind of toying around with the idea of sending everything through Pledge Manager instead of Drive-Thru RPG, which will probably frustrate some people. I think I might do that just because it makes things really clean and simple, especially because I'm paying for a service with Pledge Manager. And part of what I'm paying for is for them to handle all that shit that I don't want to handle, such as the distribution of digital goods in a way that makes sense. So, yeah. So we're done. That's it. It's a wrap. We're done. I mean, unless something looks like we totally missed something obscene in doing the final pass and then putting everything in and packaging it together. It's a wrap. Picaresque Roman is done. Which is great. I'll get to Embryo here in a second half. I also got the last track for the soundtrack, which is our first ever OST track that has vocals. In fact, the whole song has vocals. So this OST is by far our strongest. It's our most polished. It's our most diverse. It's our most musically intelligent and musically savvy because it combines multiple genres, as you would expect from a game inspired by something like Persona that merges multiple musical genres. That's why you hear a lot of like the lo-fi stuff in the Picaresque Roman soundtrack, but then you also switch over to some harder, more metal-esque rock, and then you've got a vocal song, which is super poppy, and it's a male vocalist, which is also cool because you don't hear a lot of those with Japanese tracks. The song is completely. It was completely written in Japanese. It's sung in Japanese. It's brilliant. Just brilliant. So I'm excited, not just for the game, not just for the scenario booklet. I'm excited to also deliver that soundtrack when we put all the digital stuff basically in your mailbox, in your inbox in the next week and a half or so. So we are going to hit our window there, which is cool. We said October. We're getting October. My camera is a little blurry, right? Does that look blurry to anyone else? I don't know why it would be suddenly blurry, but it most definitely seems to be that way. Let's see here. No, I don't want that. Video capture device. Womp womp. You know, I had an issue like this on one of the shows, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna troubleshoot this on air. It'll be real quick. I'll be done. And then it wasn't real quick. And hey, we're back. There we go. Now we are unblurred. So it must have heard me about to threaten disconnecting it and reconnecting it live on there. And I was like, fuck, we don't want that guy to do that again. So Picaresque moving along. Files are being sent to the printer. I'm hoping to get our first round of production samples third week of November, and we're gonna try our damnedest to get things to folks the end of January. So I'm feeling really good about Picaresque. Picaresque was our first foray into RPGs. That means we got more RPGs coming. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So, okay. That is actually, you know what? Let's preview a little track. Let's preview a little track here. I think this is what we want. 怖い夢が楽しい幻になりたいの夜この場所は僕に属している時間がないけどSo there's a little sneak peek of our first vocal-laden track. Very exciting. Picaresque Roman, not gonna lie, is my favorite project we've done. You know, I always say the next project is my favorite project because it has to be. But we're in a place where there are like multiple projects finished. So I'm kind of just like sitting here without like a project right in front of me that I have to do something on immediately. So I can give you an answer that's not the next project is my favorite project. Picaresque is my favorite project. Okay. Embryo Machine. Yes, he brought up Embryo Machine. We have a little bit of an update. I mean, not really much of an update, but it's something. And that is, so we sent off the files to the printer last month, like a month ago, almost to the day, I think. And so we're expecting to get production samples also in November, toward the end of November. So one of the reasons why we're getting these production samples a little late, despite the fact that we actually turned in the files last month, is twofold. The first reason is we knew that things were going to come back to us that needed revised. There are a lot of components in Embryo Machine, and a lot of the components are weird. They're weird cuts, they're weird shapes, they're weird colors. They lock together. They have to be very precise, and that means the files for printing have to be very precise as well. So we always build into our expectations that when we send off the first round of files to the printer to send back production samples to us or to make production samples out of those files, that we're going to get something back like, hey, can you fix this? And normally it's like, it's a handful of things. It's small things. We kind of set our expectations a little differently for Embryo Machine, expecting to come back with a lot of revisions. Revisions both from the printer and then also revisions that we were going to give the printer, because essentially how it works is you send all the files and then the printer sends over the files of how they're going to look like when they go through the printing press. And you get a better understanding of like, okay, that's how this is going to work out, spatial orientation wise. And then when you see them kind of laid out the way that they're going to print, you see things that you just don't see when you're working in the files in Illustrator or Photoshop or wherever you're working on them. And it's even different than how you view the files or the assets when you're holding the actual components from, in this case, the Japanese version. And so we built our expectations that there was going to be more back and forth on this one. There was. And two, we're in a queue. That's also part of the reason. So we sent the files last month. We went back and forth with the printer for essentially 3.5 weeks up until last week. And I even like posted a quick comment on Embryo Machine's comments wall stating like, no big news, but like we're making progress with the printing side of things. So we kind of finalized the back and forth on those revisions last week, because that was 3.5 weeks after we sent them. So not only did it take about a month to like really finalize those files, and even, I mean, this is not the end. Even though we finalize the files after going back and forth with the printer, once we get those production samples, I can guarantee you that I'm going to want things different. I mean, this is too weird a game, and there's too many components for it to come to me and be like, this is perfect. First off, it's never happened before, ever, never, with any LionWing products, and it's assuredly not going to happen with this one because this game has more components than all of our other projects, and in many ways, this game has more components than all of our other projects combined. That is actual almost fact. So that being said, it took a while, and now we're in a queue because a lot of other places are trying to print right now too. And just like container ships and just like international freight shipping, printers are backed up yet again because printers are working overtime as well. A lot of projects at the end of the year to print. Our printer doesn't just print board games. That wouldn't be sustainable. They print many, many things, many consumer goods. So we're in a bit of a queue and we're waiting. And that's why I expect the end of November to get those production samples back. So it's it's pretty safe to say we're not going to hit December. That there would have to be some like otherworldly supernatural powers at play that would allow us to get this game into backers' hands in December. I actually don't think it's humanly, physically possible to do that. I won't commit to that just yet because, as I said before, I'm done committing to things that I don't know for certain. But it seems pretty certain that we're not going to get this game to backers in December. When? I don't know. Q1, Q2 of 2022. I mean, Q2's the safe bet. That's all I'll say. I mean, we're working as hard as we can. I'm not going to pump out a product that sucks. So might just take a little minute. The Embryo Machine Scenario Fan Contest wraps up on November 1st, which I think is in 2 Mondays. Yes, not next Monday, but the following Monday. We've had a handful of submissions. They've all been super cool. I don't know how I'm going to choose these. I don't know how I'm going to choose just one of them. If you want to submit a scenario, you still got a week and a half, almost 2 weeks to do it. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can just be a simple deathmatch setup. Create a little bit of a backstory that puts these mechs on a battlefield with one another, create some victory conditions or some failure conditions. Boom, you're done. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. If you want to get in, you want to have your work featured, go for it. I think you should. I think this contest is really cool. I love scenarios. I love scenarios in every game. That's why we did a scenario booklet for Picaresque. That's why we're doing a scenario contest for Embryo Machine. I just think scenarios are fun. And I love when we can let the community create their own scenarios because the community, players, are going to think about the game very differently than the game's designer would, especially when you only have limited knowledge about the game, when you really only have the rulebook to read and a very limited tabletop simulator demo to play. And so that actually, I think, although sounds restrictive, is, I think, the fun part about this fan contest because you don't fully know how all this stuff works together. So you can just get crazy if you want. And if we like your stuff enough and we're like, well, that wouldn't really work, we'll figure out how to adapt it if we like it enough. So that is our Embryo Machine update. And I think we've hit all of our projects, all of our project updates. Maid Knight Saga, because someone asked about this on Twitter, actually, just yesterday, I think, maybe it was the day before, basically saying like, hey, is this project still alive? And yes, Maid Knight Saga is very much so still alive, and it is finished, like finished. Like everything's finished. All the stuff that we added to the game, to the base game, all the stretch goals. So this will be the Maid Knight Saga when it comes to Kickstarter, whenever that is, will come to Kickstarter with literally everything done. The only thing that won't be done will be one of the items in the all-in tier. And that's just because it's a little harder to get ahead of time. I'm going to try to get some ahead of time. I'm not holding my breath with how things have been going with the printing situation, but everything else is done. So the game is fully finished. Like we don't have to touch it again. All of the stretch goals are not only figured out, but they're finished. So that's the first time we will come to That's the first time we'll come to a Kickstarter campaign with every stretch goal finished. Most time we have a good chunk of stretch goals finished, but we don't really know how a game is going to turn out, and so we kind of hold back on some things in case, like, hey, what if we don't hit this mark? I don't want to create all this content and pay and commission this content if we're actually never going to get a chance to unlock it and use it. So like, let's do a good chunk of what we think the stretch goals are going to be that we know we'll hit, and then we'll hold the others in reserve for once we can tell where the trajectory of the campaign's going, then we can get to start on those other stretch goals that we hadn't tackled yet. But this is we're done. So I'm very confident with this project, like very, very, very confident about what this project is going to do, how it's going to turn out in terms of like people showing up for it and backing it and supporting it. It's a really good game. It's unlike anything we've done before. And I think it's something that people want right now. And that is a more standard Euro game with an anime aesthetic. There aren't a lot of those right now. And if you do get something like that, it's an anime aesthetic that probably hasn't originated from Japan. And you get sort of like a Western adaptation of the anime art style, which is fine. I love that too. But this is authentic stuff. And so the merging of a more Western game concept with a Japanese visual presentation and story/lore is a really cool marriage of things, and it makes for a very cool experience. And what we added to the game to kind of round out the experience, the gameplay experience, kind of puts this game into an echelon that I don't think a lot of our other games are in, just because Maid Knight Saga is so different in so many ways. So when is that game coming to Kickstarter? I don't know. We've got a couple things that are kind of just like sitting there. And Maid Knight Saga's totally done. A couple other things that are basically done that we could put on a Kickstarter. So I've got some decisions to make. We can't do anything until Gun and Gun gets fulfilled. But like Maid Knight Saga, the game is not only done and all that comes with it, but like the Kickstarter's already done too. The Kickstarter page, the Kickstarter graphics, the Kickstarter rewards, everything about that project is done. It is. In fact, it was so done that I had already submitted it for review to Kickstarter when they said, hey, you've got to fulfill a project before we'll review this. And that was back in May. So like, that's how done we are. It's just sitting there waiting to be resubmitted, which I'll do once Gun and Gun's finished. So there are your LionWing project updates. I hope they're what you're looking for. Went a little bit longer than I was anticipating. That leaves us just with a very brief Q&A tonight. Let's see here. One question. What are you doing, folks? What are you doing? How am I going to have a Q&A with one question? That's not even a Q&A. I mean, that's a Q and an A. That's it. So, Mirage Sessions. Hey, Mirage. I have not seen you around in a long time. You're a bit of a specter. You just sort of like show up out of nowhere at various points and then just disappear silently. I've noticed you tend to come out when a new project has launched and you engage for a little bit and then you sort of slowly retreat into the background, which is totally fine. No problem with that. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you want to engage in the way that you do. So thank you for that. And I appreciate the question because you were the only question asker tonight. I do have a spooky mug. I mean, it's not really spooky when you see what's on the other side. Not spooky. It's my wife's mug, but I like it. Mickey and Minnie is not spooky. Fern, I didn't realize that was you who said that. Where you been tonight? I don't think I've seen you at all in the chat, Fern. Thanks for joining us. Always good to see some friendly faces. We got people in the chat that I don't typically see, so that's awesome. Thanks, folks. Appreciate you checking this out, listening to me ramble, and I have been rambling tonight. Okay, here's the question. I'm curious to know what your favorite genre is, which I responded back because like I don't even know what that means. So I was like, genre is in the game genre, setting genre, something else entirely. And Mirage Sessions said both. So I guess I'll answer both. Well, genre is in like game genre. As I mentioned before, tabletop RPGs are my genre of choice, my genre of preference, the thing that I always choose. I will always choose over any other type of tabletop game. Doesn't matter my mood, doesn't matter what the game is, doesn't matter the group. If they're down, then I'm going to choose a TRPG every day. Setting genre though. Now that's a bit more interesting. I would probably say, whoops. I would probably say military horror is like my favorite settings genre. I saw that you sent this yesterday, and like I asked for clarity, but then I didn't really think about it again. I should have thought about this because I really like this. Yeah, probably military horror. I like near future military stuff too. I even like futuristic military stuff, but that's not as interesting. Yeah, so probably military horror. Things like Aliens, Predator, The Thing to some degree. I don't know if that's military. There's element of military-ish to it. Resident Evil, Cold Fear, if anyone played Cold Fear for PS2 or Xbox, or Extermination for PS2, which was a sweary produced third-person action-adventure horror shooter. Really cool, underrated game. Carrier for the Dreamcast, also a military horror, survival horror game. Gosh, let me see here. Am I missing anything? What are some other... Let's see if I have anything on my phone that would jog my memory here of other things that are military horror, because you probably don't hear that a lot. No. Yeah, so have I tried Conduit for Wii? I have, actually. Yeah, that was developed by, I think, High Voltage, which was a studio in the adjacent state. I think they're based out of Indiana. It could have been Illinois, one of the I states right next to Ohio. And I think it was High Voltage, or maybe it's just Voltage. Shoot, I don't remember. But yeah, Conduit was cool. A little... Oh yeah, for sure, cult classic. That game has a following, definitely. A little too futuristic. I still very much still like it, and I like that setting. I like futuristic sci-fi. I mean, I like Ghost in the Shell. I kind of put that into that category as well. But yeah, very cool game. If anyone played Breakdown for the original Xbox, that's kind of near future military action horror. That's pretty cool. What was that movie? What was that rad horror movie with Natalie Portman? Oh, Annihilation. Annihilation was amazing. Overlord, if anyone has seen Overlord, which is this really cool like World War II military horror film. Yeah, so I think that's probably what I would say my favorite settings genre is. Okay. Fern, you said you had to do something, so you missed the update section. Got to go back and rewatch. Yeah, check that out. This will go up tonight. This will probably upload in about 40 minutes, so it'll be up around midnight if I had to guess. And yeah, a decent amount of updates that you missed, Fern. So definitely check that out. Well, folks, I think that takes us to the end tonight. We're about at an hour, which is exactly where I want to be, so that I can go sleep off these booster side effects, because this I've now developed a headache since streaming, so I'm just kind of done with this day. So I'm glad we got to an hour. I think this actually might be the shortest LionWing talks that we've had, which on a day like today is actually much appreciated. So thank you to everyone who tuned in, who checked it out. Light Alice, oh, thank you for the stream. I didn't say anything the whole stream, but I was here. Yeah, no, I saw you. You were one of the first in here. So yeah, no, I appreciate you jumping in and watching. You don't have to say, no pressure for anyone to engage at all. You can just watch and enjoy, sit back, relax. I just appreciate people watching, which is cool. But yeah, so thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, sorry for the long hiatus before last week. That 6-7 weeks was a little crazy. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be sharing my Wednesday evenings with all of you. I'm glad to be talking games. I'm glad to be talking LionWing stuff, giving project updates, and just shooting the breeze and having tangents where we talk about Atelier Ryza for longer than I would have ever anticipated when preparing for this show. We'll do it again next week. We do this every Wednesday at 9 p.m. here on Twitch. Be on the lookout if you are a Picaresque Roman backer. Be on the lookout for an update very soon. If you're a Gun and Gun backer, be on the lookout for a Kickstarter update on that as well very soon. I'm hoping to have that DLC too for Wild Hunt Festival to folks and an update very soon. That one's probably going to take a little bit longer. And then probably, I really am trying to post one update a month for all the projects. I've got 10 days to post something to the Embryo Machine Kickstarter. I'll think of something before the month of October is through, so be on the lookout for that over the next week and a half or so. Fry Guy Fern says, oh my god, Ryza, I have that game, haven't finished it. Yeah, neither have I, and I don't plan to. Watch the first half, you'll see why. Bean says, let's get it, Fern. Yeah, no, I think most people like that game, so you'll probably like it too. Yeah, I have the first two. I don't have the second one. I loved the limited edition box that they did for the second one. Oh my gosh, that Ellie of Ryza 1 for Switch goes for so much on eBay. Last time I checked, it was like $550 to get that thing brand new on eBay. Oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. People do say the second one is even better than the first. I would say that's a pretty low bar to clear, but yeah, that's probably true too. Okay, I'm done shitting on Ryza. It's not that bad of a game. I'm just being a gimmick. I'm just doing a gimmick now. A gimmick of hating Atelier more than I actually do. I don't even have anything against Atelier. It's not a series that I like actively dislike, that I like actively think about ever. I just had a little bit of fun tonight. So if you really do like Atelier, I'm just kidding. Mostly. Regarding LionWing Plays, Af says, would you like that the community runs the Mondays? So Af, I would love that. I've got to be honest. There is more prep and coordination that goes into LionWing Plays than there is for this. LionWing Talks is just me. I've only got to coordinate with me. The only thing I've got to do is like create like either some notes or on a good day, I do a whole run of show. It's real simple. LionWing Plays is harder though, because you got multiple people. You got to coordinate. You got to get timing down right. You got to make sure that people are available. You got to make sure that something doesn't come up last minute to where someone can't join, which like that happens because life happens. It was becoming more stressful than I wanted it to be. And so I won't say that I've retired the show, but I certainly don't have an interest in being the one to bring it back anytime soon. So yeah, there's that. What did I miss here? Bean's still talking about Ryza getting slapped by the final boss, I'm guessing, of the first game. So Beans, you said that you really want to get into the rest of the Atelier franchise. It's interesting. You're going to be working backward through the series, and that is not the way to do it, let me tell you. So Ryza is the best in the series. Look, Bradley, just because it's not hard doesn't mean it's not good. Bean says I should be more free to do stuff on Mondays. My new job starts soon, and I'll be able to actually schedule times for it. Let's see here. Oh, Fern, cool. I'm busy finishing the Wild Hunt Festival display for my stream, so I couldn't do much stuff this week. What do you mean a Wild Hunt Festival display for your stream, Fern? Do tell. I'm curious what that means. That sounds interesting. Or maybe I'm reading more into it than I should. You know, now that I'm thinking about older Atelier games, there was one that I actually thought was pretty decent. And I think it was Logi and Esha. I think that was the one that took a more traditional turn-based combat approach, and also was a bit more combat heavy. And I think that's why I liked it, because it kind of there was still crafting in the to it, but the crafting wasn't as front and center. There wasn't time. There wasn't like a hard time management element to it either, which I liked. Some of the earlier games with the having to manage your time just was really stressful, even though they always gave you more time than you really needed. Just the idea of having a time limit on what I could do stressed me out. But yeah, I'm glad you heard that that was a good one as well. So yeah, I think that's worth checking out. Fern says, rather than just using my phone for camera, I'm setting up a display that will just showcase the fight happening via a bunch of different captures and spreadsheets. That sounds cool as hell. Fern, I wanna see what that is. I might pick up that one or like Sophie after Ryza, since Sophie 2 is coming out. Yeah, and if I remember correctly, actually Sophie has a I could be making this up. They all run together. Um, I think Sophie has a decent amount in common with Logi and Esha. Oh, I think that's right, because I think Sophie came out right at. I mean, was the game that followed Logi and Esha? All right, I could be talking out my ass, guys. At this point, I'm sure there's a an Atelier fan out there just like rolling their eyes so hard at me, like this, just thinking like this fucking guy. Who is this guy? I think they're in the same trilogy. Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah, it's unfortunate that I don't like the games all that much, because I love the color palette. I love like the art. The art's really fantastic. The character designs are amazing. Maruru, uh, she was super like that. That game had fantastic character art. Even I even like Rorona, which I always have a hard time saying Rorona. I loved her character design. So like I think the game really gets it right when it comes to designs. I know a lot of people like Rise's design, and have things to say about Rise's thighs, and I can respect that. I feel like you should have a segment where you suggest slash prescribe JRPGs to people. You have a good way with words and a lot of experience. I don't know if I have a good way with words, but I do have a lot of experience. I'm a bit of an old guy. I've been around for a while. I should have like JRPG minute written into this show. That could be fun. Oh yeah, the art is great. The community hates that she's the first thick one, but I really do love them. I really do love the music for the game, especially. Yeah, I think all of them actually have really solid soundtracks. Some I think it was oh my gosh, Ayesha. I think that's the game in the series that is like just utterly forgettable. Just like so mediocre it like offended me. I think that's the one I'm thinking of, and its soundtrack was real lame. But all the other games have really great soundtracks. Ryza's soundtrack was amazing, amazing. In fact, I used it as inspiration for one of the games we have coming out for the soundtrack. Actually, I I have the the notes right here about which tracks that I specifically liked and that I gave to the composer to use as a point of reference here. I wonder which ones I chose. Not that anyone gives a damn what this is, but it's funny that you talked about the soundtrack and then I just also happen to use it as a point of reference for a previous game. Here we go. Clear Silver Sound, Wish Upon a Sword, Ordinary Days, One Summer's Adventure, Bluegrass Beneath the Sky, Etude Adante, and then Sol Ramimi. Those were all the tracks that I used as inspiration. The soundtrack is super evocative. It's super whimsical. It's got this. It's got a. It's able to. I think move you as a player and tell a story to the player that complements the actual story being told. And I think that's what makes a good soundtrack. When not only does the music stand out and then you remember it after you stop playing, but when the music complements the story overtly being told to the player, when the music is part of the storytelling, that's when you know you've got a good soundtrack. And I will give it to Ryza that its soundtrack is the best in the series, and not just for that. It's not just good for the Atelier series. It's phenomenal for the Atelier series, but it's also great outside of that series. You can take that soundtrack and put it up against some of the genre's best, and you're going to have a contender for like one of the best soundtracks of the bunch. I mean, I really think that soundtrack is fantastic, and that OP theme is super good. Makes me feel nostalgic for my childhood as well as like the adventure feel of Wind Waker. I love a game that impresses upon its players a sense of wonder, a sense of adventure, and a sense of danger. I think that's why I always liked Final Fantasy XI so much, because it does all of those things. And I could totally see Wind Waker, or really any Zelda, also really instilling in someone like that sense of grand adventure. Zelda is not a game that I like, but like I love what it stands for. I love what it represents. It just happens to like not be the formula that I dig. Um, but I've played all of them and would totally agree. And yeah, I would totally agree that there is a sense of adventure in all of those games that you just don't find in a lot of other adventure games. So I haven't thought about Wind Waker in a minute. I got the Wind Waker limited edition for Wii U, and I have it somewhere around here. And I think that's the last time I thought about Wind Waker. I don't even know if I opened that limited edition. I think I bought it and was like, I'm finally going to give Wind Waker like a shot. And then I didn't. And then I did that with Breath of the Wild. I'm like, this is the Zelda that this is the Zelda I'm really going to like. And then it wasn't the Zelda that I really liked. Let's see here. Wind Waker HD was my first Zelda. Oh, cool. Right on. Got it with my Wii U for my 16th birthday. Awesome. I'm glad we got another Wii U owner in the house. Hopefully you still own your Wii U. I still own mine. In fact, I have Devil's Third over there sitting in a protective plastic case because that game's like $400 on eBay right now. And I freaking love Devil's Third. It was one of my favorite games of last generation. Yep, I said it. I love kind of janky, over the top Japanese action games. Anarchy Reigns, Vanquish, Bayonetta, Lollipop Chainsaw, Devil's Third, whatever. Most Platinum games, most Suda51 games, although he's not crazy over the top with action, he's a bit more abstract, sweary. A couple designers from the Dreamcast era who are doing some crazy stuff. Anyway, Devil's Third is a game I've heard a lot about, says Beans, and you should absolutely, if you ever get the chance to play it, you should play it. It's cool. I just can't say enough about Devil's Third. Can't say enough. Lollipop Chainsaw just reminded me that game existed. Yeah, so yeah, also a Grasshopper Manufacturer game. Like that 2010 to 2013 was a really interesting time in like the Japanese action game scene, because we got Killer is Dead, we got Shadows of the Damned, we got Lollipop Chainsaw, we got Bayonetta, I think we got Vanquish, we got Anarchy Reigns, we got Binary Domain. It was just like this crazy awesome time for Japanese action games. And Lollipop Chainsaw was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Now, I have not played No More Heroes 3. So surprisingly, despite the fact that I love all the games that I just mentioned, I actually don't like love No More Heroes. I have them. I have the first two for Wii, but I did not pick up 3, and I didn't pick up the that weird spinoff that Suda did a couple years back, which was kind of like a over the top arcade style, like beat 'em up. Dude, okay. Killer is Dead is a 5 out of 10 on IGN. That's when you know it's a good game. Um, and yes, as you said, like 93% user scores. Killer is Dead is awesome. So good. Oh, I think that's also the time frame, that 2010 2013. I think that's also when Zone of Enders HD was re-released, one of Kojima's games, a mech game. It's a two-parter. The first, Zone of Enders, and then Second Runner, both PS2 games. Awesome games, overlooked games. I don't even think the HD remaster brought new eyes to the game, like everyone had hoped who'd played those games and knew how good they were. But yeah, Killer's Dead's awesome. Anyway, I'm rambling now about random Japanese action video games. That takes us to the end, folks. It's been fun. I'll see you again next week. Be on the lookout for more updates. If you've got a question for me to answer on air next week, drop it in the LionWing Talks channel and Discord, or drop it to me on social in a DM or through a tweet or through a whatever, and I will make sure I get to it. If you just want to shoot the shit in the Discord between now and the next time I'm here on stream, let's do it. We were talking about an upcoming Japanese deck builder from Gumi96, which looks pretty cool. Scheduled for a summer 2022 release, I think is what I remember. So, been trying to get back into engaging with Discord, as I said, when coming back from the hiatus. That's something that I had stopped doing there for a minute. But I'm always down to talk games, tabletop games, video games, any kinds of games, whatever it may be. I'm down to talk about them. So I will see you all next week, and it's been fun. I'll miss you. I'll see you then.